Well, hello and welcome to class today. Unfortunately, I'm alone today, but that does happen. So today I'll be discussing a little bit about business ethics. Okay. So first of all, what are business ethics? Ethics in general is about right and wrong, good and bad. Morally what's okay. All right. And so when we apply that to business, there are many things it affects, okay? So we can start with, for example, the employees. How does business ethics affect the employees? Well, are they treated fairly? Are they working the correct amount of hours per week? Do they work overtime? Overtime is more than that, more than the hours that they are supposed to work. Are they paid fairly? Are they paid extra for those overtime hours, for example? So there's many different parts. If a person is having a problem, is there someone else there to support them? If it's a manager, a boss, or a different employee. Emergency, a personal emergency. Is it allowed, for them to leave? Because obviously, at the end of the day, I think family and friends, especially family, is the most important thing. And if someone has a problem, work is not number one. At the end of the day. So I think it's important to take into consideration everything. And there are always different problems. Maybe someone hurts themselves at work. To time off. Are they still paid correctly? In the United States, we have something called workers' compensation. If they are hurt on the job, I don't even know the rules. That never happened to me. So, do they get the amount? I think if they get some money or something. If work pays for the injury and everything, and does work, the actual job, the bosses, do they respect the workers' time off and the time that they need to get better, for example? So those are some examples of the employees. Now, depending on the business, I was more thinking of a corporate situation, okay, we have our head bosses, and then we have managers, and then we have employees, and different groups, etc. What happens if it's, for example, a huge company that sells clothing or shoes or some kind of products? Now, where do those products come from? I know in the United States, there's a huge debate about, jobs outside of the United States. So, what are those job conditions? It's just like food. There are different regulations here in Europe than there are in the United States. Okay, that's fine. Excuse me. It's not good or bad. It just depends on the countries. Okay. In the United States, we also have many rules about work, about the ethics and what's right and what's wrong. For example, one thing that the United States does not promote is child labor. So children under probably the age of 18, maybe 16, are not able to work so many hours. I don't know how many hours it exactly is. But in other countries, it might be okay. But that's exploitation, and that's not good either. So the United States has to apply their ethics to the other countries. The other countries have to follow those ethics. And so it can be kind of difficult. Because if you produce something in a country that is not very expensive, you won't have to pay as much as if it were in the United States. So for a business side, it sounds great. Getting this product, it's perfect, whatever. And cheap labor, if it's children or not children. One thing I know people talk about is, in whatever country they work in and make $1.50 a day, for example. Or I know in one country, the age of someone in the United States could need food in this country for 1 week. So you have to think about it like that too, okay? So for example, let's say there's a country and someone makes $1.20, $1.50 a day, okay? Referring to American dollars, you're like, oh, no, that's terrible. You don't even work an hour for that. So the minimum wage right now, I think in Wisconsin, for example, is $7. So technically companies can't pay less than that per hour. And you think if I'm making €7 or something an hour, they're making $1.50 a day. That's terrible. That's not correct. But you don't know how much their standard of living costs. Maybe they can easily survive off of $1 per day. Maybe that's okay. And so you can't really compare. I'm not saying that it's perfectly okay. I'm looking at a business side. Okay. So if I were to create a business, I look for inexpensive ways to do things and make a lot of money. Because at the end of the day, who doesn't want to make money? I think that's the most important thing when you open a business. It depends what the business is. Maybe it's to be competitive. Maybe it's a different airline company to have competitive prices. Or, I don't know, another bank. I mean, the idea of opening any business is to make money and to be successful. So, of course, you're going to want to cut corners when you can. But those business ethics are there. And so you have to put yourself in the person's shoes, if it's the employee, if it's the worker, etc., in order to run a good business. I think it's always necessary to treat someone fairly. Be understanding as a boss. Now, maybe you don't want to cross the line of I'm a boss, but I'm a friend situation, because I was like, oh yeah, well, can I have a favor? And then maybe the employee takes advantage of the situation. Oh, if the manager comes around, tell them I'm doing this, or tell them I did this because I'm not here. Things like that. So you do have to be careful with that too. And of course, not everyone's going to be like that, but it does happen. We're humans. We're tired, or we want to go home, or we have something else to do, or you're just having a bad day if it's at work in general. So it's fair in those situations. So that's that. Child labor. I have my little list here of things to talk about. Another thing that is morally correct or incorrect, I'd like to mention plagiarism. Okay, so that's when, for example, I read a book and then I copy it and then I put it in my book to be published. All right, that's plagiarism. I've heard of, none of this is my favorite topic, but I know that Thomas and Joe's Donald Trump in a conversation with that. So I can take him into consideration in this context. Not long ago, maybe a week or so ago, that he had a speech. I don't even remember what it was about. I don't follow. I don't like to talk about him, so. But apparently he had this speech and it was plagiarized. The United States or any country should not be, what's a good word? Should be smarter than to use a speech that's already been written from a movie. So, come on. Things like that. Business, Trump could be an example for many unethical business things here, but I don't need to focus just on him today. It's not, not my favorite subject. So, you have to look at that too. You can't just copy and paste and say, oh, hey, that's mine. No, that's not right, because those words can come out of your mouth. Now, if you think of something very similar, that's okay, but those are still your own words. So, this is a little off topic, but years ago, I was 16 working at a restaurant, and I was just tired. It was a Friday night, and you go through the stages in life where things don't always go great. But anyway, I thought of this saying, I'm perfect the way I am, because if I wasn't the way I am, I wouldn't be me. So if you think of that, to me, that was very special. It was, you know what, just because I'm not the most popular, just because I'm not this or that, doesn't mean that I'm not perfect. Now, we all know that no one's perfect, but ideally that you are you is what I'm trying to say. And then one of my friends said, well, I thought of a quote just very similar to that, so you copied me. No, I remember exactly where it was when that happened. So, friends think alike, maybe that's it. But Like I said, if it's something similar to someone else's saying, book, etc., article, whatever it is, it happens. They also say that everyone has like 5 or 6 twins in the world. So like there's 5 or 6 people that look exactly like me in the world. So, so obviously we're going to think similarly. Okay, so you do have to be careful with that. However, that depends on the situation. Also, okay, and this is another thing. For example, so we have expensive brands, all right, purses, let's say, because it's relatively famous all over the world. Now, there are businesses dedicated to copying those handbags, those purses, wallets, etc. Now, let's look at it from both sides. As far as the real company, okay, it has to be kind of like a pat on the back, like, oh, hey, good job, your purse is fantastic. People want to copy this. But at the same time, the companies that copy the bag, ethically right there, that's not good. That's not right. You're taking a great product and then you're using different products that aren't maybe as good, the quality isn't as good. And why? That company right there that's just made, that's produced, just to copy handbags and then sell them for half the price. What is that saying? What is that saying to the world, to the people that are buying these, that it's okay? And I know that sometimes the police and people, talk to these companies and shut them down, but there's so many. And sometimes they're so good that you don't know if they're fake or real. But it's giving jobs. And I don't support it at all. I don't think that buying things that are fake is the way to go. I do not think so at all. But it does happen. And I probably, well, I don't know if I have some friends that buy fake purses on purpose or not. But branding, I don't think should necessarily be important either, because again, it's you and it's your things, and if you like it, that's great. But if you like it just because it's popular, I don't think that's correct either. So I think those companies are made or created just to make these false items is terrible. But like I said, you have to look on their side too. It's a business, they're looking to make money. They're copying something, so they have to be very careful with what they're doing. Like I said, it's giving jobs. And it doesn't give jobs just to the people that work there, but jobs to the people that are producing the fabrics, who produce the zippers, for example. So there's always this chain of events, the people that produce the machines, the sewing machines, for example. People with the thread, the tiny little line that you put to put 2 pieces of fabric together. So, there's a lot of different parts to a business. It's not just, at the end of the day, the money, because you are also buying things from other companies, which is making the world go round with money. Money makes the world go round, they say. So that's something else to take into consideration. Okay? All right. Another negative thing here I have on my list is bribery. Now, I normally would ask if anyone knows what bribery is, but because no one's here, it's my turn to answer. So, bribery is when, for example, I tell someone, hey, if you do this for me, I'll do this for you. And then maybe they'll sign a contract, maybe they won't. Maybe it's just a word of mouth conversation, contract kind of thing. So you have to be careful with that too, because maybe they won't come through. And if they're bribing you, it's not a good situation anyway. It's like a kid, hey, go do this and I'll give you some chocolate and everything will be okay. But that's not okay either. So it's definitely something we need to take into consideration with the company. Now, again, it depends on where you are within the company. Maybe you're a big boss. Maybe you can decide good things and bad things about companies, or your business ethics, and that will control the whole entire company. So I think it's best to be honest and do things the right way. Even though it might cost you more money, I think it's still worth it at the end of the day. So anyway, so bribery. Excuse me, I need to drink some water because it's a lot of talking. So bribery. I think that's basically it. It's just, convincing someone to do something for you for your benefit, which isn't always good. If it's for the benefit of the company, like I said, I think it depends on every single situation. So those are more towards the negative things of business ethics. Now, if we look at the more positive things, for example, it could mean that you're more competitive. Like I said before, an airline that opens is looking for competition. So they might lower their prices, which makes other companies lower their prices, which essentially is good for the consumer, for the person that's going to buy the plane tickets, not for the company's president, for example. However, it's competition. Competition is good and bad because you make money, but you also lose money. And then it depends on your reputation. And also, in the news lately, there's been some unethical things happening with some airlines, which isn't good either. And maybe they happened before, but now with news, it's in the moment. Everyone has cell phones, and if something happens now, as soon as it finishes, bam, to someone else who will be able to report the story. That's quite scary. Everyone has to be quite careful these days with what they do, how they say things, social media. You put something online and everyone sees it, or someone takes a picture of their screen and it's saved then forever. And so even though some people make mistakes, they're in a bad mood, they say something they shouldn't, but then it's forever. And it's recorded. That's the problem, is that it's recorded. And no one records you, then you can deny it later. But still, so you do have to be very careful, all right, with what you're saying. Now, with competitive, like I said, it's good and bad because I think it's actually better for the customers because that way things are cheaper, maybe better quality, something like that. So it's really good for the consumer. And it's going to improve the business in total, in completely. Because those bosses are going to want the employees to work better. So what happens then? Maybe they need to get paid more. Maybe they work more hours. Maybe they work less hours. I don't know. But they also need to be, we say, on their toes, I think. Something like that. It doesn't say it in English. But they need to do their best, basically, in the best interest of the company and their best interest. And if they do well, the company will do well and everything will be successful. However, if it's the opposite, obviously we know what can happen. They need to create new things. So if you have a product that works great, fantastic. I know months ago I had a class and a conversation about innovation and efficiency. Both are very important in any business. Why? Because your business can grow and save money. To do that. Again, for the airlines, so innovation could be more flights to different destinations, or just different destinations, or I don't know, more comfortable seats, for example. That might be something that is in their best interest, because then, if someone's looking at two different flights, oh, well, this company has really good seats, or this company has a TV in the headrest in the person in front of his seat, then I'll choose that. And essentially, of course, the business is going to spend money on these nice seats, but in the end, it might be beneficial. It really might. Or serve better quality food. And I'm not saying plain food is bad. I don't mind it. It could always, anything in the world could always be better. So I think it's one of those things that is fine. But maybe if you raise that standard a little bit, it might help you in the long run. So there's little things that businesses can do to improve. Now, efficiency. I think being efficient is super important. To find the best way to do something, maybe in the fastest time or less expensive, something like that. Excuse me. And so efficiency, I'm not sure what's more important, efficiency or innovation. And I had this conversation, and I don't think there really is a right one. I really don't. I almost think efficiency might be a little more important, just because, let's say you have a fantastic product, it works great, sells great, but you can always modify it and maybe look for a different audience. You know, maybe instead of selling to kids, you look for something for adults, for example. Or maybe you're targeting a sport. Well, go to a different sport and see if that works. You know, if you already have your brand name established, I think it's important then to continue and do your best with other products too, because it can only make you more money. And I think that's the most important thing, is making more money. Because then if you're really ethical, you're really good at, I think if you're a good person, maybe you'll donate to charities, and those charities obviously will help other people. So you have to think of it like that too. You have to think of not just you, but what can happen in the future. So, another thing is, I know in some countries, for example, China, they have a huge pollution problem. You have to think about polluting the environment, because it's the only environment that we have, okay? Definitely something needs to be done. We can see the effects of climate change as someone else in the United States that doesn't. But it's super important. And honestly, the other day I read an article that cancer is a man-made disease. I had just said that to one of my friends earlier the past week. We need to be careful of what we're doing, okay? So it's really in our best interest to not pollute the world. You know, I mean, there's these terrible floods and rain and wind, and it's been super windy here lately. Today it's sunny, but so Mother Nature is upset with what we're doing, okay? So we need to be very careful, and one of those ethics is to not pollute. I think nowadays it's very popular for people to go green, okay, to buy green products, reusable bags, you know, things that don't cause cancer, just natural products. And I think that's fantastic, because natural products are naturally here. So I'm thinking if we hadn't invented, I don't know, some kind of thing that, I mean, plastic, for example, plastic is terrible, and it's all over the place. I mean, plastic pens, I mean, headphones, and just, there's plastic everywhere. Plastic is terrible, and there's toxins in it. And so, you know, we have to be careful with that. And so it depends on the products that you're trying to sell too, because if you need plastic. However, there are alternatives. What's the negative side of the alternatives? It's more expensive, because plastic is cheap. And I'm just using plastic as a simple example because it's everywhere. I know in Africa and some other countries they have banned plastic bags. So you go with a grocery bag or something, or a shopping bag that's plastic, they'll take it away. Which, hey, that's great. But it will take the world some time to realize that, you know, to get to that point of not, I have a reusable bag. Sometimes I leave it at home because I forget. But I try to do little things that I can in order to help save the environment. I know last year we had a discussion about water days, or a World Day or something like that. World Water Day, maybe. And we were talking about how important water is. There are some people that waste water. I mean, they're brushing their teeth and the water's running, and I don't do that. I mean, I like turn that off. But other people, you know, don't have water. A little bit of water that you put on your toothbrush, people don't have that. You know, sometimes when I'm doing dishes, I'll try and use the least amount of water possible. But then there's a moment that something happens and you can't get the dish in the right spot, and so it takes longer, the water's still running, and I'm like, stop. But that's more of a game I play with myself, was I try and use the least amount of water while I'm washing the dishes. And that's efficient. It's efficient for my pocket too, because I'm saving money on that water that I'm not using. Okay? I mean, there's really other great uses for water as well. I mean, you can wash the floor because if it's dishes, of course it's dirty, but you can still use the water for other things. Okay. Here in Spain, it's really popular to clean the streets with water. That water is not drinkable, okay, that they use. Because that was one of my first thoughts. It was like, well, some people don't have water, and then you're spending thousands of dollars in water probably a month that people could use. You can't drink it, so that's fine. And the streets are clean. Let's see, so it's polluting. And again, I talked about this earlier about treating workers fairly. I think that's super important because if you have employees that don't respect you as a boss, that don't want to do their best, your business will not be successful. If the ethics are not there, I don't think you'll go very far. It's just so important to do your best, to do what you can for others. And I think about this with politics, regardless of the president guy. In general, I've always thought since I was like 17, once I understood a little bit more about politics and what happened, I thought, well, if I want the best for people in the world, I want you to have a good day and everything goes well with you. Why don't the politicians? And here in Spain, that's a huge problem as well. I can't just say it's only the United States. I think literally it's probably every country. And I shouldn't say every country, the majority of countries. I just feel that politicians are looking for benefits, looking for power. They tax this and that's more money in their pocket. They do this and it's still more money in their pocket. They may have cutbacks. They spend less on education or healthcare or something. It's more money in their pockets. And so I thought, well, why don't they want the best for people? And because of those terrible politicians, Spain has been in a recession for many years. I could say 8, 9 years probably. It was before I got here. And people had told me, well, Spain's not doing so good right now. And whatever, I want to go. And now I'm here, and I did live through those times. It's quite difficult. Unemployed people don't make a lot of money for the unemployment. And when that runs out, you don't get anything else. So, again, to go back to the politicians and treating people fairly, it's a cycle. So if you treat someone unfairly, they will treat someone else unfairly. And that will go around and around and around. If you do it in a positive way, that's it, fantastic. I'm positive, you're positive, everything's positive. And the business is successful. You want people to go to work happy every day. Of course, we always have bad days, like, oh, I have to go to work. But why not enjoy work? Well, my mom works, she gets 15-minute massages for free once a week. What? Fantastic. She has someone sit at her desk and the ergonomics is the height of your desk, for your feet, your chair, everything. It's everything about making you comfortable. What all different sizes and shapes. So why not make that person comfortable? And so it's those little things that businesses can do, or give you free lunch once a week, or I don't know, when you work really hard, you get a bonus, or why not benefit those who are benefiting your pocket? That's really the most important thing. And all of these are ethics. It's moral. Is this right or wrong? Now, sometimes it could be both, but I think it depends on that situation too. You have to really think about your benefit and the benefit of others. Also, for example, in my case, I have some lessons that I do here, and honestly, financially, it doesn't benefit me as much as a different class. And so I had to make a decision of, will I continue or will I stop? And I'm going to stop. However, I'm still with that class because there are children involved. I'm teaching children, that's not life. And it's almost the end of the school year. So I'm sacrificing my time and money in order to go to them till the end of the school year. And then I'll say, I'm sorry, but next year it's impossible. Now, of course, what am I going to do? Try and look for someone else to help them because it's fair. They want someone to go to their house. For me, it's not beneficial for me anymore. So I mean, like I said, 50-50 compromise. I'm doing my part now, and then, sorry, I have to think about me too in my future. So you have to be selfish in a way, but it depends, again, on the situation. This is, a teaching situation. This isn't like I'm producing products in a different country and selling them here for lots of money. So I think it, like I said, it depends. Another thing that it might affect is the stock market. Okay, the stock market is relatively important, and so it affects many people. So depending on, like I said, your reputation alone, not necessarily just the products, but your reputation as the business could be good or bad, and that might affect your stock, and that will eventually affect your business, and it won't be successful. Or you have a bad boss and it's just a bad person, I don't know. That's going to affect your reputation, which will affect your business. So again, it all is connected. It all is in a circle here. Well, this is just a different example of something that's not ethical. For example, people that steal in the streets, for example, they make thousands of dollars, euros, whatever currency per month, just stealing. That's their job. You have to think about those other people. If they're tourists, if they're normal people that live in that country or whatever, that's not right. Or stealing dogs or something, These are not business necessarily. Well, it actually might be business. Because the people who steal money don't need to work, don't pay taxes, don't contribute to society, okay? So they're not working, but they're earning money. They're not benefiting the country, okay? They're benefiting their pockets. People who steal dogs, I don't hope, but I would imagine that they're stealing that dog for a financial benefit, because who would just want to steal a dog? That's part of someone's family. I think about my cats. If something were to happen to them, that would be absolutely terrible. Just because if someone else decides, hey, I'm going to make some money, let me steal that animal and I'll make money. I think it's unfortunate when people get to a point in their lives that they just think it's okay to steal from people. Also, there are situations where maybe a company knows they're going out of business, but continue to sell their items. So then, they sell their items and it never comes, and all of a sudden, the business is closed. People sell products that they don't have, or they say it's in stock and it's not. You buy it or pre-order. I pre-ordered something on Amazon not that long ago. I'm hoping that it arrives, but Amazon's relatively safe, so that's good. But there are just so many different situations in which ethics is important, and I think in daily life, in personal life, and obviously in work life, it's super important. So I would love to take questions from people, however, no one's here. Let me just re-look at my list, and I think that I have said everything. So there's actually a lot of negative things that I talked about today, which isn't good. But I think what it can do is open your eyes to these situations and, think, is this good or is this bad? I think we need to take into consideration every moment. If someone says, hey, if you do this, I'll pay you a little extra under the table. Sure, it's beneficial, but not for the state and the country that you live in. So you have to think about everything and how it affects. This one time, well, maybe it's okay, but if it's a constant thing, it's not. So you have to be careful, and you really have to think about everything. So opening a business, good luck, go green. That's the new trend and what people want. So, produce good products, don't lie, don't cheat, don't be a bad person. And I think you can be successful, being honest and doing things correctly. Of course, it's hard, but it can absolutely work in your benefit. So I'd love to continue, but I don't have anything else to say. So be good people, and and that's it. So everyone have a great day. Thank you for watching. If you made it through the entire monologue today, I hope that was interesting for you. Next Wednesday, well, this Wednesday in a couple of days, we'll be focusing on describing people. Okay, physical characteristics, I think. Anyway, adjectives. So we'll take a look at that. Everyone have a wonderful day, and hopefully we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.